All right, what's good, YouTube? It's the King here, Aqua Life baby. You already know how it is. Um, so today I wanted to kind of just go over the Aqua Force cards that are going to be in Vanguard Zero. Looks like they're going to be coming out in Japan next set, but this is really the pretty much the only deck and clan. Obviously, you already know Aqua Life baby. That I am personally interested in playing outside of probably just I guess more for what we're going to get in English. Shadow Paladins, but I wanted to just kind of go over the cards. They don't have any images for it here on Vanguard Zero Meta, which is I think it's a really good place to go, for builds and just to look up cards. But this a lot of this stuff is just data mined, so whenever stuff is data mined, I always leave um, the window for everything is subject to change upon release. Um, but just looking at it here, Aquaforce seems to be like looking over the cards, we seem to be a pretty decent clan. There is going to be some strategy involved as far as when to use units. Your build is going to be really key, and I really feel like a lot of what your build is going to be dependent on is like the tail end of your grade one line as well as your entire grade two line. As you know, Aquaforce historically has been really about the grade twos and how we utilize the Storm Rider series like Basil, Diamantes, setting up that column, being able to either whiff or hit, and then move to the back row, and then have something else kit so that we can achieve a certain number of battles in a turn. That's historically what Aqua Force has been about. Obviously, that's not the case now, so to speak. But that's historically what Aquaforce was. That was our bread and butter. That was our clan identity. So um, Vanguard Zero definitely plays different than what we got in real life back when GB or BT 8 set 8 came out, original set 8 came out, and original set 9, which introduced really introduced cross rides. So because Vanguard Zero plays differently, certain cards have values, and obviously this is just kind of like a first look into everything, but um, you know, the way you play and the way you construct your deck, whatever it is definitely going to be heavily dependent on your build. Um, yeah, and so I want to just kind of go over pretty much all the cards were expected to release, uh, around May 31st. So from what it seems, I just want to go over all the cards that we're expected to get, and then I want to show off. I want to show off two builds that I have for it, just because I'm not sure if one of the cards is actually going to come out or not. I'm going to go with it as if it is, but we'll see. Um, so really starting right off. Officer Cadet, the first battle's vanilla. They don't have pictures for the cards, so whatever. But then you have Officer Cadet Eric, who is our counterblast one, tossing a soul, looking 5 cards on the top of deck, and add a grade 3 greater card to your hand. I personally feel like he's going to be our main starter because a lot of, with Aquaforce, especially if, we really have one good ride, which is going to be Maelstrom. Obviously, if the Glory comes out, Glory is a decent ride as well, but really you want to ride Maelstrom first and foremost, and you want to be able to get to this card because if you end up riding Diamantes or if you ride Benedict, you're not going to have an effective turn. It's going to be mm, it's probably going to be a bit of a struggle to um, it's going to be a bit of a struggle to really play an effective game using Aquaforce. So I really feel Officer Cadet Eric is going to be the main searcher that we have, or main star that we have. Aqua Breast Draco Kid is an interesting card where you put into one of your soul, you give something 1k power and the ability to hit a Vanguard if that's the fourth battle of the turn or more, and you to draw a card. This card is like it's interesting in a way. I don't think it's that great. Like, it's probably good, like, early game if you open up well, if you open up with like a Basil or a Benedict and you're able to toss out four attacks, you would give this to an Algos if you're planning on having that hit on the fourth bow of the turn or more, to draw two cards. Or you're just whiffing a Basil, whiffing another, or hitting another side here, hitting another side here, and then swinging it with your Vanguard, something to that effect. Um, when you get to draw a card, and the draw a card thing, is interesting, but again, you know, I'm not 100% sold on Aqua Breath. Tri-Hole Draco Kid is, I guess, what you would call the offensive starter. So when he attacks, if he's the third battle of the turn or more, he gets 3k to the end of battle. So this is like the starter version of Coral Assault. Um, he's decent for 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 I guess early aggressive plays. Him being an 8k card when he attacks. If you attach a booster behind him, then that's like an 8k booster like Theo or something like that. Then that can be a solid 16k column right there. But again, I don't know how much value you really expect to get out of this card yet. I'm more interested in trying him out, him over Aqua Breath really, but we'll see with that. And then you have Officer Cadet Astria, which when she boosts, when the attack that this unit boosts that hits Vanguard, you can CB1 put into your soul and stand when he rear guards. So that sounds nice, like that sounds nice. And for a counterblast one, tuck her into the soul, she pretty much auto activates being able to help you hit the fourth battle. That can be good. It can most certainly be a good thing, but you know, the way Vanguard Zero plays, uh, that restanding rear, the card that you restand either has to be a card that's swung at like an intercept or something, and still has a boost coming, really, because more likely than not, when when the opponent takes a damage, um, they're gonna get that 5 power, or if they hit a trigger, they get the 10 power, and then, it's kind of like, oh well, restanding this card is not gonna do me, really do me any good. So honestly, I would just say hold off on Ashia. I don't really think she's going to be that great, moving forward. And if I'm going to counterblast for a starter, I'd rather counterblast to find one of my grade threes. Also, the other thing about Eric is that if you like open up with Maelstrom, um, that's great, but being able to find like Diamantes or a Benedict or even Glory Maelstrom for your cross ride, I think is just is just really just too valuable. Eric, we use our grade threes to attack. They're kind of like moving into an era more of 11k grade threes and cross rides, and you want to be able to see your Diamantes because he is a with his ability when he swings first, he gains 2k, so he's an 11k swing first, and then he does the Storm Rider ability to move back when he attacks, and that's when you attack a Vanguard. Benedict Benedict is basically the first version of Tidal Assault. He's like Tidal Assault's dad. Attack the Vanguard, restand minus 5k. He just a super easy fourth battle enabler, right then and there. And then you have Maelstrom and probably Glory Maelstrom, and with between those guys, um, Maelstrom is a fantastic rear guard, being 11k. Same with Glory being an 11k rear guard. Works really well in a Storm Rider column, and like we use our grade threes more aggressively than a lot of other clans do, especially in Zero. You want to have something that hits 10 or 11k to take out intercepts and to hit pesky threes, especially if we're just trying to hit the fourth battle. Like a lot of what we do is use our battles to control the board and then like poke and then finish with a bigger wave. So that's really where we get down with that. Going into the grade ones, um, We have Tyranite Cypress, just a CB1, gain 1K, not that not that good. Accelerated Command's an interesting tech card, I believe that you can find a place for when players give one of your other units 2K to the end of turn. And the reason why I say that is because, if your opponent is like if you have Basil out and Basil will swing for 10K on the Vanguard, and your opponent like has an Assured Kaiser or something, that's an 11K Vanguard. Well, accelerated and if your opponent's playing MLB is a 12K, you can give the extra 2K to Basil, and so Basil can swing, hit MLB, and then move back, and then you continue on with the rest of your turn. So, he also pumps up other units so that they can hit other power thresholds too. So I think he's a very viable option when it comes to being able to play. Obviously, after the turn he's used, he's just a normal 6K card. So, you really want to find a niche spot for him. Then you have Splash Assault, which is when he attacks, again, another Coral Assault clone. Vanguard Rigor attacks, third battle, gets 3K or more into the end of battle. Um, Not a card I see anybody running, really. I'm not. Cynthia, when she's basically your Airmo clone, not really useful in Aqua Force. Dorothea is an interesting card as well. Third battle or more, she becomes a 10K booster if she boosts the Vanguard. So if anything, that puts Maelstrom to so Maelstrom would be at regular Maelstrom with limit break. It's a 16. You boost with her, that'd be a 26. Glory Maelstrom will be with his ability will be 18 boost with her. That'll be a 28K swing right there. So she's also a viable option there, but she only works behind your Vanguard. And a lot of times with your Vanguard, you swing on boost. You're really like more focused on committing a booster to one column and your Vanguard, and then you have another column that you're setting up as a Storm Rider column. So um, she can be an interesting like back end grade 1 tech that you could toss in as well. For those numbers that we said, but she only works behind the Vanguard. So, if you do, get her to, if you do run her, then you kind of want to keep your back row clear so you can drop her down so that she can be the most effective. Obviously, the boy Pascal for PGs. Storm Rider Eugene is the first of the Storm Rider series, just a grade 1 version. First battle turn, if he attacks a Vanguard, he gets 2K, and then you can swap it with a card behind him. Um, and then they gave Storm Riders the interesting ability to counterblast 2 and have the attacking unit ignore intercept for turn. So that can be pretty huge. I guess you can run him if you want something else just to hit the fourth battle. The majority of the game after, pretty much after grade, like, if you play against risers, they have trans risers, so he can hit a trans riser. Or, when we start playing against decks like Spectral Duke and whatnot, or you catch a Shadow Paladin player having to ride in the mains, then you can catch them with the 8K fourth battle or excuse me limit break enablers. But otherwise, I don't really see him being that useful in the deck. And I think that you can probably you know commit your grade 1s to better usage. Torpedo Rush Dragon, again, not that great of a card. Fourth battle booster, he's a 9K booster. I mean, that's okay, but not really, not really what you want out of not really what you're looking for out of this card, in terms of, battle formations, and I don't think he really affects our overall game plan. Tier 9 Theo just being a solid 8K booster, however, he's a great move. Behind Vanguard, you put him boosting the 16 for Maelstrom, that's a 24K column right there. So 24 is a fantastic number to hit. Boosting him on the rear guard, just like even if you have a column of him, that's a 16K column, the 8K boost alongside like a 9K Algos or even like a Coral Assault or something like that. Like Coral Assault's 11, he's 8, that's a 19K column there. So he definitely, has a nice place in the deck, and I think is, definitely going to be used. Steam Trooper, when hits, he returns to hand. That's not good. You don't get to guard with anything from your hand, so him going back to the hand is doesn't Doesn't really do much for the turn because it's not like he boosts, you hit, and then you have the ability to call the card back out again. So he's just going to be sitting in your hand, and it's going to be a dead card most of the time. Um, Reliable Strategic Commander is our grade one limit break enabler. I like this card. Um, Being able to, if you're on Maelstrom, you can drop, you could drop her behind Maelstrom. 16 and 6, 16 and 6 makes a 22k lane, so that's a really good number there. But you can like just drop her, activate limit break, so then you can get off, a nice Maelstrom turn, hit the limit break. Hit the Vanguard, counterblast one, draw one, and pop a card on their board. So you can clear out their front row, clear out a card in their back row, and then she shuffles like prioritizing a face down card, sends that back to the deck, and then your opponent has to decide if they want to give you limit break again or not. So honestly, and they don't count, like these cards don't counterblast to do their skill. They just put a card into your damage zone face down. So because they don't have to counterblast first to do that, I think it's a really nice addition. Storm Rider Nicholas is at the end of the battle when he attacks, counterblast one to exchange the units. Listening Rigger, he's like the counterblast heavy version of it, and you want to put your counterblast to better usage where is using a critical, you're trying to finish off your opponent's Vanguard, so you're gonna bypass the intercepts, use it with the Storm Rider series. You would rather use that, and then save a counterblast for Glory Maelstrom, or save a counterblast for Maelstrom. So there's just better usage of your counterblast and what Nicholas would provide for you. Deck Sweeper is okay as a Maelstrom booster. He's a personal booster for Maelstrom, but if I'm gonna have if anything, it does make a 22k or 21k lane on the rearguard circle, but again, like you your maelstroms and stuff is your extra maelstroms are probably going to be committed to the Storm Rider column, and uh Deck Sweeper probably gets his he can you can utilize his ability probably like, I don't know, 50, like 45% of the time. It's not going to be that great. Penguin Soldier is an interesting card. Soul Blast 2 draw card. I actually would say play a copy of him, or two if you want to. We don't really do anything with our soul. Our soul is just kind of there. And, just getting him to draw a card, probably to cycle through and try to hit a card you need. Maybe you need an extra draw. Maybe you can hopefully top deck the PG or something like that. So, I mean, Signals Penguin Soldier, I believe he does have a good spot in the deck. And then Neferli. Uh, she is just when plays give one of the other grade 3 units 3k power. She's okay card, but she's just like 1k power better than Assault Command, but Assault Command can give it to any unit. This card can only give it to a grade 3 unit, and again, with your grade 3 units, you're not really prioritizing them as much as what you have for the abilities of your grade 2 cards. Um, Speaking of grade 2s, going into that, uh, Marine General of the Restless Tide Algos. On hit, no, this says third battle of the turn or more, draw a card. If this is going to, when this card comes out in zero and it stays as third battle, this guy is going to be a very good unit for us because pre limit break, we're really not focusing on trying to get like 4 battles in a turn to activate a limit break or anything like that. So being able to like swing with a Storm Rider, swing like Vanguard at a rear guard or something like that, then swing a boosted Algos to hit a Vanguard, and then you get to draw a card. That's just a whole lot of value there, and I think Algos is definitely going, with this third battle edition, he's definitely a buff. Like unlike Valyria, who fourth battle or the turn or more, she retires one of your opponent's rear guards. If this this stays as third battle to draw a card, that's such a good buff for him. Valyria is just, it's kind of the same thing, but she retires. Retiring in zero is a lot more powerful. Um, it's still actually a really good skill, especially hitting your opponent's back row. But, you know, this draw card is probably just a lot more valuable because you want to be able to see your draw triggers. You want to, you don't really want to run out of gas. So, There's that. Coral Assault is also a solid card. Again, third battle of the turn or more, he gets 3K at the end of battle. So he's a great card to put in your Storm Rider column. He's a good card to put on the the opposite side of your Vanguard outside the Storm Rider column. He's just a solid card overall, and I can definitely see you running a few copies in your deck. Storm Rider Basil. Basil used to be my absolute favorite card in Vanguard. Like him, him and Maelstrom really, but like I love Basil so much. Like he really kind of carried our decks for a long time. And in this game, he still has the same skill. I wish they would have buffed him to be a 9K to get the two, so he can hit 11. But he just when he attacks a Vanguard, it's the first battle of the turn. He gets a 2K, so he swings with 10, and then he does the Storm Rider thing and has a CB2 to ignore intercept. So he's just gonna be a solid card. Like again, catch your opponents with no intercepts, then he's definitely gonna go off. And if your opponent's on 11K Vanguard, that's perfectly fine because him with Aqua Force is not always about your attacks hitting; it's about getting to the number of battles to execute your strategy. And him whiffing is fine because he can whiff at a Vanguard. Then you can use your other sides to either check Vanguard or hit the rear guards, and then you finish off with Maelstrom, with his ability. So um, yeah, Basil is just a really good card. We already talked about Valeria. Lazarus 10K vanilla, good. Very good card for the Storm Rider column, and a good card overall to put as a rear guard, and probably your best ride as well, your grade 2 ride. So Lazarus has a lot of usages in this deck. Strategic Commanders are a grade 2 limit break enabler. Again, it's a decent card, but with Aqua Force, I don't believe unlike decks kind of like Spectral Duke or something like that. We don't really need, the way that our deck is built, we don't need to rush to limit break to do everything. So I think that like in our deck, our limit break enablers, we can run them, but I don't think that they don't need to be run at like max value. Looking at this card more and looking at where the clan is at. Um, Whale Feet supply Karin Maru when it hits a Vanguard. If you have four more career guards, draw a card. No. Um, At the end of the battle, this unit attacked the Vanguard, so Stormrider Damon is the same one as the Grade 1 card. Not really, you could put your counterblast usage, to better use. And then Teresa, she is just gives the Vanguard 3K power to the turn. Again, not really that good. 8K card, doesn't really do too much. Not gonna run her. Um, Getting into the grade threes finally. Naval Gazer Dragon. Naval Gazer is not horrid, but when he attacks, he gets 3K power and the ability that if it hits on the third or battle or more, counterblast 2 and stand 2 of your rear guards. And then when he attacks the third battle more, so in total with his limit break, he can gain a total of 6K power, putting him to 16, and on hit to CB2 and stand 2 of your rear guards. That's a little bit of an expensive cost. He's decent if you're not pulling Maelstrom and you need to go for a budget card to do what you need to do. But his skill is a skill that I would really save for late game or for when you're trying to make that push on the opponent, and just making sure that the units that you do restand, you're going to get value out of their attacks, whatever those attacks may be. But it's also the thing is that he has to hit. So if he didn't have to hit and you attacking and your opponent like activates a PG, then that's going to kind of suck. So you have to play around that. Um, I guess I would say like he hits harder than Gold Rutile, but his cost is heavier to restand. So and it can, and again with you utilizing the Storm Rider's Counterblast 2 ability, possibly at late game. I don't really see him being that fantastic, but again for a budget deck, okay. I did not rate him. Oops, I did not rate him 5 stars. Uh, But he again he can be good. Xenophon, third battle turn or more, 3K to end the battle. Rear guard, third battle turn or more, 1K. So he's an 11K on rear guard, 11K attacker on rear guard, and he is a 13K attacker on Vanguard. Again, a solid option if you want to play Aqua Force and you just have like a really budget deck. He's a solid grade three, and even if you don't have like I guess everything, then he also makes a solid grade three in the Storm Rider column, as well as a column on his own. So not a terrible card. I hate to beat with a burning passion. When he attacks CB1 to gain 3K, yeah, no, it's a bad card. It's not that good. Even though in zero, if you have an 8K booster behind him, you can CB1. That's a 21K lane. I have a personal vendetta from him from years ago, but like um, it's this is an okay skill, but again, not what we're really looking for in Aquaforce. Uh, Let me talk about Hurricane. I'll get to the Maelstrom in a second. Hydra Hurricane is actually a pretty powerful card in this in zero. So limit break when he attacks, he gets 3K, and if he hits and it's the fourth battle of the turn or more, you keep CB2 and you pretty much and you nuke your opponent's board. And when he attacks the Vanguard, so he's a 16K hitter on limit break that nukes the opponent's board. This is a very strong skill. Nuking the opponent's board for a counterblast 2 is a very strong skill in zero. Being able to knock out like the access grade threes that are in the front row, being able to knock out, an entire back row, just basically blowing up the board is really powerful because then that forces your opponent to commit cards from hand, and then they might not have enough there, especially if in zero, if their deck is running out of gas and you end up riding Hydra Hurricane and nuking their board. So I definitely think Hydra Hurricane should be included at least as a one of, as like an off ride, if you need him. That's really a good skill. Um, and then we got Blue Storm Dragon Maelstrom, the boy. When he attacks a Vanguard, fourth battle turn or more, 5K, and on hit CB1, draw a card, pop a card. Exact same ability as he has in OG Vanguard. Again, just really a strong ability. 16K attacker with limit break, 11K base, so it makes a fantastic rear guard to attack with. And the counterblast one to draw a card. So first off, drawing a card is value in zero, really good. Popping one of your opponent's rear guards, again, more value. A lot of times when you're popping your opponent's rear guards, you're gonna be popping cards in the back row to get rid of their boosters because, like I said, boosters are scarce in zero, and because they're scarce in zero, because they really only have 8 boosters if you think about it. One, you have to ride a grade one, and then you have your 4 PGs, so you really have eight. You really have 8 boosters, and knocking out those boosters so your opponent can't make certain columns, or that if when you end up taking damage, that puts them in a position where they need to hit a trigger, or two to have their rear guard hit you. And also, it's just Maelstrom is just extremely strong. He's just definitely a 5-star card, very strong. Storm Rider Diamantes, he's also a good card. He is again Storm Rider, same as Basil, but he's a 9K that swings for 11K, and has a CB2 to ignore intercept. Again, the CB2 to ignore intercept, I'm really thinking that ability is going to be more useful when your opponent's at 5 damage, and you're trying to because the cool thing is like what we can do is this card can poke out a PG from your opponent's hand, and then you leave it up to your other columns. Like, okay, I'm gonna poke out a PG from my opponent's hand with this attack, and then I'm going to take care of his intercepts with my next 2 attacks, and then finish up with a Maelstrom skill. Especially if you're on Glory Maelstrom, like Diamantes just makes this all just so much better as well. Because of Glory Maelstrom skill, which we'll get into in a second. But like, Diamantes is definitely a strong card. I would probably end up running 4 copies of him. Obviously, you don't want to ride him. And also the interesting thing is that if you have to like have a column of Diamantes, like if you have to keep him in your front row for whatever reason, then when he attacks if he does attack a Vanguard in the first battle, he swings for 11K anyways. So even if he's not, uh swapping, like if you just have him alone because you don't have a card behind him, he's still going to be swinging for an 11k hit. So just a little tidbit there. But that's only at the Vanguard. Titan of the Pyroxene Mine. Um, when he's boosted, he gets 3k. It's a solid card. Much better than Dabeed. God of mercy, I hate Dabeed. Much better than Dabeed, I feel. Um, Vasilis, Airmo clone, not good. Uh, well, try Stinger, Limbre 4, third battle and more. Now if he hits if he hit when he attacks a Vanguard third battle more, you just countercharge two. That's actually not bad, but that's a Vanguard ability, and we don't really want him on the Vanguard circle. But in a budget version, he actually might be able to work. He might actually be able to work really well because you can swing with the Storm Rider column CB2 to hit an opponent's Vanguard and or just ignoring the intercept, and then when he swings at limit break he'll refund that cost back to you, and then you can go ahead and you're ready for another turn of using your Storm Rider. And then when he Vanguard Circle, if you have one, if you can give one of your regards 3K. That's an okay skill. That's not really that great. His limit break skill is probably just much better. Um, so again, for a budget version of Aqua Force, I could definitely see him being ran. Lysander at the end of the battle, attack the Vanguard CB1 to exchange. Again, better you could use your counterblast a little bit better than that. Benedict. So Benedict and Glory. Benedict, like I said, he's literally Title Assault. He's the first version of Title Assault that we received. So at the end of battle, he attacked a Vanguard. You stand it, and it gets power minus 5,000 to the end of turn. Very easy to enable the fourth battle with his skill. If you're able to like clear out. If you don't have anything, you could just swing at the Vanguard for 10. Maybe he can whiff, and then you restand him, and then you swing with the boost. If he can't hit the Vanguard, then it's like okay, swing 10, hit the Vanguard. If they don't take a trigger, they go to 15. You restand him, and then you can like swing, with a boost 13k at a rear guard or something like that. But he's free, easy to enable the fourth battle. He's actually a really good card. And then last but not least, we have Glory Maelstrom. Uh, I think Glory Maelstrom is kind of disgusting in this game. So Limit Break 5, when he attacks a Vanguard, you CB1 at the end of until the end of battle. He gets 5k, so he'll be a 16k with Cross Ride. He will be an 18k, and your opponent has to discard a Grade 3 card from their hand in order to activate their Sentinel ability. If they can't discard a Grade 3 card, then he doesn't activate. So late game, this is just super powerful. If your opponent it's kind of like since your drive checks don't go to your hand, and you do end up flooding your hand with threes and whatnot. But it's like, if your opponent doesn't have a grade three in their hand to discard, or if they had to commit that just to attack with, then this guy is basically like a silent Tommy. He just kind of gets rid of that. And also, if they do have to do that, then you can really hurt them for the next turn because that's like one card less that they can call out, and they have to rely on whatever they top deck to, push you back offensively. But this guy is just like this ability is just really good, and I think this is a fantastic closing card for Aqua Force in Zero. As he was back in Set 9 when he came out, just a really fantastic, kind of like a closer card. He does have the cross ride, so he'll be a 13k base, which is, obviously great. And then if he's cross ridden though, his limit break 5 becomes limit break 4, which I think is unbelievably good. That's a huge buff to him. You're not going to be hindered by hitting a heal trigger on the turn, and then your opponent can't push you to 5. Um, you're sitting at 4, and you need to close out the game, and being able to use his ability while at 4 damage is really really strong. So Glory Maelstrom is definitely, basically Maelstrom and Glory Maelstrom are, I think, going to be really strong cards in Zero. So that's really it, going, kind of covering what our first initial set is going to be for Vanguard Zero. I also wanted to show you guys just like a sample deck list. Again, it sucks they don't have any images, but I kind of just wanted to kind of go over what cards, kind of like, how I build deck. Obviously, I usually change things up after I do stuff, but this is kind of just like some builds that I float in my head. I have two tabs that I build two different decks. I'm probably going to build a third one here, just kind of playing around with lineups. But obviously, for like I said, our starting Vanguard is going to be Officer Cadet Eric, um, Pashkul. So we're going to go four Pashkul, four Theo, and then I have four Limit Break Enablers and one Penguin Soldier. I might end up cutting the limb break enabler down to two or three, mostly because I want to kind of see what if I can fit in some other grade one cards that could be more useful. And again, like I said, with Aqua Force, I don't believe that there needs to be a serious rush to get us to limit break to do things. Obviously, being at limit break is fantastic, but depending on where the damage is at, I just don't think that us rushing the limit break is as fruitful as it is for other clans and other abilities. Going into the grade two lineup, obviously four copies of Storm Rider Basil. I have here four copies of Tier Knight Lazarus, just because he fits really well with the Storm Rider column and in the effort of taking out intercepts and being a great ride target. I have two copies of the Limit Break Enabler. Again, like I said, this is an 8K card, and this one's like a 6K card. So they're powered. There's much to be desired from their power standpoint. But again, I don't feel like we need to play a heavy amount of these. Um, Now you can use this to put yourself at Limit Break, which limit break 5, so that could be really pretty useful. And the cool thing is that like if you put yourself at a higher point, higher damage than your opponent, and then you end up hitting a heal trigger and healing it off, it's kind of like, oh crap, so he just basically like healed twice. It's like, okay, my opponent's at a higher damage than me, I'll put myself to the same amount of damage as him. Now if I hit a heal trigger, my heal trigger is live, so it basically, a lot of what it is, it gets rid of um the dead heal. It gets rid of you checking a heal trigger and it being dead, which you obviously don't want. And then I have three copies of Algos here. Again, just a solid card. Third battler, more hits, draw a card. And then we get into the grade three, so we definitely have Glory Maelstrom here. I didn't set all my trigger lineups here, but uh, the build is an easy. Um, the build's a very easy 9 draw. Um, is the build's a very easy 9 draw 4 heal deck. Um, Obviously 4 Maelstrom, 4 Glory. I won't make Glory the like Glory's not gonna be a heal trigger. Let's just get that Glory. Like Glory is gonna be a draw trigger. We make Diamantes a heal trigger. Um, So 4 Glory, 4 Maelstrom, 4 Diamantes, and one copy of Benedict. So that's like one initial build I have, and the other build I have is a build with no glory. I kind of just built this just in anticipation, like, oh, we don't pull a glory, we only get our maelstroms and whatnot. So it's pretty much a lot of it's the same, still Pascal, but for this build, I kind of went one light signals, 4 Theo, and I still went with 4 strategic commanders. But again, I'm probably going to change these out. 4 Basil, 4 Laz, or actually, no, I think I did 2 Lazarus or 3 Lazarus, 3 strategic commanders, and 3 Algos. But again, that's probably going to change. I would probably cut a strategic commander, toss in another Lazarus, and go with that lineup. And then grade threes, 4 Maelstrom, 4 Diamantes. I got 4 Benedict in the deck and one Hydra Hurricane, but you could probably cut a Benedict and toss in 2 Hydra Hurricane just as another ride option for you. So just really as another right option for you, to use. But this, kind of means that Eric is still definitely the more important starter for you. But that is the entire Aquaforce Vanguard Zero set overview. I kind of just wanted to, talk about everything and what we can expect and show you guys a few sample builds that I was like working on. Like I said, these build, everything is possibly subject to change when the set drops. This is more or less this data mined information, and obviously these builds are just like initial builds from what I'm thinking, but I'm probably going to make like 6 or 7, maybe 10 different builds of Aquaforce on this Vanguard Zero meta thing, and kind of just reference this when I'm building my decks when we go in hard for Aquaforce in this game. But that's what we got for you guys. Thank you guys for watching. Definitely like, comment, subscribe. Follow the Twitch channel below. Be twitch.tv/cardfight I'll put a link to that below. Where we're gonna go stream Vanguard Zero and do a lot of other just do a lot of other things there. But yeah, thank you guys for watching. You guys have a fantastic rest of your day. Aqua Life, baby. You already know how it is. And we out.